Welcome to the Glitter Boom Girls Show. I'm Robbie-Ann McPherson on the East Coast.
And I'm Amy Asbury on the West Coast.
We're so happy to have you with us. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're talking about a subject that I think divides people. Don't you, Aim? Like, it's like a love it or hate it thing?
You know, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is, capital T, the, capital M, mall. Yeah. And so however you felt when I said the mall, that's which side of the fence you're on.
Do you feel like at different ages people might think differently about the mall?
Well, I guess that argument could be made. But I do think that for some people, it's a nature versus nurture. You will either love the mall, capital T, capital M, or you don't. You hate it. Now, I loved the mall as a child. I still love the mall. I know they're all dying and all that. We're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about the mall we knew.
Okay.
Because it was a huge part of my childhood, huge part of my formation as a young adult. You know, my first job. Well, I had 3 first jobs. I got 3 jobs at kind of the same time. But one of my first retail jobs was at the mall. It was the kiosks in the middle of the mall. It was Frontier Fruit and Nut Company.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I was in the little kiosk surrounded by these bins that were filled with like chocolate covered peanuts and these weird sesame snacks. And basically,
what did you wear? Did you have a uniform for that?
No, I just had to look nice. And then I had an apron. I had an
apron.
Yeah,
yes,
Frontier Fruit and Nut apron. And
cute.
What was interesting was I had to sit there and give samples. So I was the one going, hey, would you like to try some kettle corn? You know, as people walk by. And it was a strange, lonely job, very lonely job, because you would just literally be sitting there in this kiosk, like staring into space, you know?
Yeah.
And I gained 8 pounds.
Oh, my.
I think I worked there for 6 months or something, maybe less.
Cute.
It was like 2 for you, 1 for me. Like
how cute.
The chocolate covered peanuts were really good.
Ooh, those sound good.
Yeah, and sometimes I couldn't leave for lunch. Like you're trapped in that little thing. You know, you can't go to the bathroom. You can't go to Roy Rogers and get a hamburger. You have to stay there. So for lunch, it would be chocolate covered peanuts, you know, and I would have like the same watered down Pepsi that I got at 8:30 in the morning from Original Cookie Company, you know, and so that lasted me all day. Yeah. And people would just walk by and they would slow down, you know, and they'd sort of like gaze at something, and I'd be like, hey, can I help you? And then they'd be like, no, and they'd run away. Would you like some kettle corn? You know, it was like, okay.
Trying to avoid you.
Yeah, and so here's how my career at Frontier Fruit and Nut Company came to an end. Okay.
Oh, tell me.
Yeah, I was 17 when I worked there. And the manager, who was a nice lady, she was at the time, so this was like mid-80s. She was probably in her early 40s.
All right.
And, you know, she's managing a Frontier Fruit and Nut kiosk, so I don't know if she's happy with her vocational choices, but
all right.
She was okay. Just a little cranky. So one day, it was, I think it was near Christmas time, and one of our jobs while we stood there in the kiosk was to create these little half-pound bags, right? So you'd put a half pound of gummy bears in a bag, and then you'd tie it with a pretty ribbon, and then you'd have to put a sticker on it for whatever, you know, and so you're measuring.
It sounds pretty. Mm-hmm.
You know, and you'd create these little gifts. So I'm sitting there measuring all these gummy bears, and I had been doing it for about 4 hours. Okay, that's a long time to just stand there and, you know, and listen, if you worked retail, anybody out there, you know the pain of working retail. everyone, be nice to retail employees, okay? They're in hell. So there I am spending all this time, half a day, doing these, and I'm kind of over it, but you know, you get a little loopy, right? So the manager comes in and she's going to check on the store and what's going on. And I was really meticulous with my displays. My displays looked like friggin' Bloomingdale's window. Like I could stack and style a pile of half-pound gummy bear bags like nobody's business.
Proud of you.
So I took pride in my work. But I was a little bit loopy, and I had scissors in my hand, and I was scooping gummy bears with another. And this gummy bear kind of fell out of the scoop and sort of bounced on the little counter, right? So he was obviously going to go in the trash. So I'm looking at him, and I pick him up, and I snip off his ears with the scissors. And I don't know if I highly encourage you to do this because it looks really funny. Like, it's so funny looking. So
I have done that. I have cut gummy bears with scissors before.
Did you cut the ears off?
I believe I did.
Okay.
And I remember getting one stuck in my hair also. My sister cheated. Anyway, go on.
Well,
so you cut the ears off.
It looks funny. So I start laughing. I'm like, so I'm looking at it, and then I showed it to her. And I was like, look at this. Do you know she wrote me up? She wrote me up for wasting product. I was like, it fell on the counter. I said I was going to throw it out anyway.
You cut off the ears off of a gummy bear.
I cut off the ears of one gummy bear after making a mountain of these bags. And, you know, but this is mall life, people. This was mall life. So I let her write me up. And it was like a little yellow slip.
You let her, I mean, what were you going to do? Well, you could have stormed off, I suppose.
Well, no, I let her write me up. I let her go through all the motions and tell me, you know, how concerned she was. And I was a super loyal employee. I never stole anything, which, you know, for working in a kiosk.
You never ate a gummy bear?
No, I ate a ton, but we were allowed to eat. It was okay.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, they let us eat. But I never took home a bag, you know, a pound bag of something, which I can't say the same for other employees. And so I was honest. I made sure that everything was clean and blah. I mean, I was a good employee.
Right. So
I sat there and she hands me this, you know, it's like a copy thing where she takes a copy and hands me the yellow slip, you know, and it's all serious. And I just looked at her and I said, okay. And I took my apron off and I was like, thank you very much. I quit. I walked out. I was like, I cannot. She's like, well, but I go, listen, I cannot work for someone or a company that is going to punish me for something like that. I was like, I'm sorry. And I was all principled.
Wow.
And then,
look at you.
Yeah. And then it was right after that, that I just had the two jobs then. I worked at the nightclub and the record store. And that was it. But so, okay. That was a long story that I told. Your turn.
Okay. I have a question for you. Now,
oh, yeah. Okay.
Most shopping malls are anchored by department stores, right? Mm-hmm. What were the department stores of your mall?
Well, it is Buffalo. So our economy, we don't have super highs. We don't have super lows, but things kind of revolve a lot. So it started like my mall. My mall was called the Eastern Hills Mall. Okay. It was in Clarence, New York. And that was like my childhood stomping grounds. That was my mall. Okay. So Eastern Hills had Sears. They had an old store called Hens and Kelly.
Oh, my.
That was a big department store in Buffalo. And they had JCPenney.
Of course.
And there was another one that I forget.
Was it May Company or Bullock's?
No, we never had May Company out here in the East. We didn't have Bullock's.
We had Orbox.
Yeah, we didn't have any of those.
Point. Oh, okay.
And we didn't have Macy's yet. Macy's came much later.
Yes, Macy's came later. We did have a Sears. We had a JCPenney. We had the May Company, which I think either before that or after that was the Broadway.
Yeah.
And, we had a couple of different malls. We had the Northridge Fashion Center. That was my stomping ground mall. And then there was the Topanga Mall, which had an ice skating rink. and an
Oh,
ore box, I believe. But yeah, the mall that I went to in Northridge had it had those big department stores, but it also had a music store, which was either Sam Goody or the Warehouse. I can't remember, but that's where you kind of got to look at records, which was a big deal.
that's where all the
And
cool kids hung out.
and the thing about the mall, I had kind of a fear of the mall when I was very young. We rarely went to a mall because, but as teenagers, your parents dropped you off at a mall and it was a social life thing.
Yes.
So the one time my sister Erin and I got dropped off at a mall, maybe it was one of two or three times. We didn't go after that. These couple of girls were following us and heckling us and kicking us, and it was the worst experience. And I felt so stupid, and I didn't know what to do. Do I get in a big brawl with these girls? And they followed us into the San Francisco Cookie Company. We were wearing our fringe jackets and our little boots, and it just kind of was a bad experience for me. But I know that in a lot of films like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, they kind of showed the kids working at a mall,
Yeah.
the movie theater, the food court. So that became a really big part of the 80s in film, watching the kids, oh, wait a second, I can go get a job there, And then also
Yeah.
just that was kind of an enclosed social life for teenagers in the 70s and 80s. And it was like, your parents could drop you off because it was all enclosed.
Mm-hmm.
And you weren't just walking out in a field, which they probably would have let you do also at that time. But was it a social life for you before that job?
Absolutely. That mall, I remember being 10, 11, and remember I grew up in a fairly small rural at the time suburb of Buffalo. So it was fairly safe, and my mom or dad would drop me off at the Eastern Hills Mall, and always at the movie theater entrance.
Right.
And I would just, I'd usually go see a movie or something and just wander around. Sometimes I was with a bestie, my bestie Karen. Shout out Karen. But it was safe. And as I got a little bit older, I did enjoy just strolling the mall, window shopping. I'd get a coffee or something, or a tea or whatever. And I still love that. It's still a stress reducer for me, where even though sometimes it's hard to be in the mall with like the chaos and the people and whatever, I still love to just wander around with a coffee and look at stuff and maybe pick up this or that. And I can't really explain it. And there was a time, let's see, it was 1981.
Okay.
And a movie came out called The Legend of the Lone Ranger.
Oh, yeah, you love that.
Yes, starring Klinton Spilsbury. And the movie was derided terribly. Frankly, I don't think it's that bad. I actually really love it. The cinematography is gorgeous. No argument.
Okay.
The name escapes me now, but he's a famous guy that did it. So anyway, that movie came out, and at the time I was riding horses, and I fell in love with Klinton Spilsbury. So my mom dropped me off every Sunday at Eastern Hills Mall for like 3 or 4 weeks.
By yourself?
By myself. And I would go and watch the movie, and then I would like go get a hamburger or something, and then she'd pick me up. And every time I went, I wore this light blue shirt that had an iron-on white horse on it, like silver, which I got at a kiosk in the mall. So it was like it was a big deal to me. And I just loved it. I loved back in the day when the mall had, when the tenants were all full, all the spaces, and you could get anything in there. Like they had the athletic store, and they had the jewelry store, and the Spencer's Gifts with all the
Spencer's,
naughty,
that was like the naughty.
Yeah, and the posters and.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then the record store. Of course, I would go in the record store.
We had a Radio Shack, and yeah, that's right. So what was your record store?
Our record store, we had two. We had Record Town and Cabbages. That was big. Now, Record Theater was a huge record store in Buffalo, but that was like a standalone. That they were not in small shopping malls. There was one in a strip mall, and then there were a couple standalones. But in the mall, like in Eastern Hills Mall and a couple of the other malls around Buffalo, it was Record Town or Cabbages. And
Cabbages.
my one friend
right.
worked at the Record Town. And I think it might have overlapped with my Frontier Fruit and Nut career. But I remember thinking how cool that was. Like, oh my God, I would have given my right arm to work at a record store.
My sister always worked at Tower, Sam Goody. She always worked at all them, and she was really cool. She always got like the cool, the first releases of everything. But yeah, the person who worked at the music store was always cool,
right?
Just by default,
right. And the Frontier Fruit and Nut was also directly across from a Chess King.
Chess King. Now, was that guys' clothes?
That's all guys' clothes.
Yeah, because I remember there was a Chess King, which was like a big deal. And then there was like a Miller's Outpost where everyone got their Levi's.
Oh, we didn't have Miller's Outpost. I don't think we had it
Did
here.
Did you guys have a merry-go-round?
Oh, yeah.
What was that merry-go-round?
Merry-go-round was like clothes you would wear for to go to the discotheque in a Marriott hotel.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, they were I don't know, funky. It was.
I think Chess King was like sold to them eventually. By the way.
Oh, that could definitely be. Maybe even but the
and then there was the Gap, if I recall correctly.
Right, the Gap was a few doors down from Frontier Fruit and Nut. And I loved the Gap. I thought the Gap they've changed a lot, but back in the day, it was just your go-to. I mean, I need a pair of jeans. I went to
Contempo Casuals as a teenager. That's where I got all my Kelly Bundy outfits that I thought were perfectly acceptable.
Did you have a 579?
We had a 579. I didn't really find anything in there. I did. There was a Judy's. Judy's. Did I say that correctly?
I don't know. We didn't have Judy's.
Judy's was I think it was sold to Wet Seal eventually.
Oh, yeah.
And then Miller's Outpost turned into Anchor Blue.
Oh.
But yeah, it was just interesting.
What about KB Toys?
There was always a KB Toys. There was always like a Dalton or a Walden Books.
Yeah, we had the Walden Books in the Eastern Hills Mall. And there was a store called Ulrich's way back in the 70s. And Ulrich's sold sheet music, stationery, stuff like that. They sold all kinds of, it was like paper world. And I still have a little pad from Ulrich's, cool. And it's got this total 70s graphic. You know what? I'm going to totally put that up on our Twitter.
You got to put it up. I think the coolest chain that we had for music was Licorice Pizza, which is supposed to be a record, by the way.
Oh, yeah, like LP.
And that was acquired by Sam Goody. But yeah, Licorice Pizza was where you got your Motley Crue record, But then Sam Goody, was the next one where my sister worked. And then, of course, Tower Records came to the mall, which was a big deal.
Oh, there was a Tower Records in the mall?
At my mall, yes.
Oh,
at our mall.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, no, you know what? It was across the street from the mall. I'm sorry. But my sister did work at Tower, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, that KB Toys we had. What were some other ones?
What about the food? Because Eastern Hills Mall did not have a food court, per se. The food was dotted throughout the mall. And this mall, it had a main concourse, and then it had two wings that kind of jutted off the main concourse. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of snacky snacks, like Original Cookie Company, pretzels, that kind of stuff. But they had, back in the day, in the 70s, and of course these all change, right? Eventually, I think in the early 90s, they built a food court, But back in the 70s, they had Roy Rogers chain.
Cool.
And no offense to Roy Rogers, but man, that particular location was one of the filthiest restaurants, and I would not eat there. Like at Frontier Fruit and Nut, I refused because it was just so dirty in there. I'd walk in and I'd walk out. And there was a Friendly's. You guys had Friendly's, right?
No, we don't, but I have eaten at one on your coast.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Friendly's was an East Coast. Yes. Kind of like a Denny's, but a little bit different. It wasn't like a diner. It was an ice cream place, and they were
Yes, of
famous for their
course.
ice cream. I think there still might be a few, but there was a Friendlies at the end of the mall. I loved Friendlies. Friendlies was like crack. I would go there and get a hamburger. They had crinkle cut fries, and then I would polish it off with a butter crunch ice cream.
Butter
Yeah,
crunch.
yeah,
Oh my
that was
gosh.
good. And they had the cool Coke glasses that like flared out at the top. You know, those old
Oh
school
my
Coke and the bendy
gosh.
straw. And I loved Friendlies. And it was all booths. There were no tables at Friendlies. It was all booths. So you could just
That
go
is
in and get a booth.
so cute. Oh, you
Yeah.
know what? I just thought of another store. Did you guys have a Robinsons?
Later we did. Yeah. It
Yeah.
took a while. I mean, everything in Buffalo takes a while, but it did take a while. And they're gone now, aren't they? Are there any Robinsons
You know
left?
what? Robinsons turned into Robinsons May, and then I think that got sold to Macy's, and
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that was. And then what about the pet store?
the pet store. I don't remember what mine was called.
Yeah, well, no one knows what they're called, right? It's just the pet store. So you
Yeah,
would go
yeah,
in
yeah.
there, and you would. It was like a ritual. Like if you went to the mall, whatever you were there for, you would do other things and then stop at the pet store, and you would just look at these
Oh,
poor little
yes.
animals like locked up in this this non-rescue situation.
One of the big malls in the valley was the Galleria, which was, I believe, where they filmed Fast Times.
Yeah, Sherman Oaks Galleria, correct.
Yeah,
And
so that was
also,
also,
didn't they
yeah,
shoot
about
in Valley Girl? Didn't they also shoot the mall
they
scenes
did,
in that mall?
and the song Valley Girl by Frank Zappa and his daughter Moon Zappa mentions the Galleria,
Right, the Galleria.
and she says it's in Encino, but it's actually in Sherman Oaks. But anyway, yeah, that was a place that I did get dropped off at once with one of my friends to go school clothes shopping, and I felt so uncomfortable and so uncool, and she was just like, "Oh, let's go here," and I felt like it was so big, and I just felt scared. Uh,
Really?
yeah, when I was older, of course, I loved them all, and then when I got a little bit older than that, it just gave me anxiety, like it does today. I'm like, I got to get out of here right now. But yeah, the Galleria, Fast Times, Valley Girl, and even Back to the Future 2, a whole bunch of other films were filmed there. But yeah, that was one of the big ones in the Valley. I had to bring that one up.
So I want to break. That's interesting, though. You just said something
Mm-hmm.
that I want to break down here, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
a mall lover,
Oh,
right? I'm good with the mall, but
okay.
when you have like it's one thing to be afraid when you're a little kid, and the mall is big and whatever. I have no explanation, by the way, why I wasn't. I don't know. I took to the mall. I took to it right away. But now as an adult,
Ugh.
what's the source of the anxiety? When you go in the mall now, why are you anxious?
Because there's too many choices.
Too many choices. Really?
Yes,
See,
it
that's
gives
what
me
I love
anxiety.
about the mall.
It's too much. There's too many things. Even when I look for an audiobook, there's too many things to choose from. When I look on TV, when I look on Netflix, there's too many things to choose from. When I was a kid and they gave me 5 different toys and I picked the one out of 5, but if there's 50,000 on Amazon, I get anxiety. So the mall
Okay.
these days, it's too much. There's too many stores. I used to be like, oh, there's a Benetton, you know.
Esprit.
uh, Esprit. Oh, I wished I could have some Esprit. I really wanted some Guess clothing. That was a big deal.
Oh, and the
And
Limited. Oh God, my favorite clothing store in my
did you love
entire
the Limited?
life. I went to the Limited.
What was my
That was
favorite?
my first stop always. I loved the Limited.
So what were the clothes like in the Limited? I don't remember
Well,
exactly.
when I hit the Limited, and we're going to get back to this anxiety thing, by the way,
Okay.
because I think that's a point we need to drill down. So when I went into the Limited in the 70s, they were, even back then,
Uh-huh.
not overly trendy, but I loved the fact that their clothes were sort of trendy, but still
It like suited
kind
you.
of yeah, like they were sort of classic. And in the
Okay.
80s, they were in the whole big sweater thing.
Oh,
That was,
yes, that's
like the
so
big baggy
funny.
sweater type deal. So you would go to Limited to get your big sweater.
Did you wear
You
stirrup pants with those, by the way?
um I did not wear stirrup pants.
Oh my.
I was too much of a, I don't know. I didn't, I felt like they were pajamas. I couldn't wear them. I wore jeans with everything pretty much, or corduroys. And I loved the Limited's corduroys. They had the best corduroys in the 80s. And you would get, a pair, and they, of course, they came in crazy colors, light blue, pink, green.
I mean, but I can't believe the Limited have been around up until only like 3 years ago.
Well,
And then,
but to me, I still shopped at the Limited. Their
uh-huh,
clothes were really quality. And as I got older, and I had to start
uh-huh.
wearing suits, they had fantastic suits for a decent price that fit
Okay.
me. Their clothes, you know how that is where there's just a store that fits
Yes.
you, and
J. Crew fits me. Yes, I
oh, okay,
totally
there you
get it.
go. Yeah, and see the whatever manufacturing or cuts or whatever they did at the Limited,
Hmm.
I could usually just pull a size off the rack. I didn't even have to try it on.
Oh, I
They
love
fit
it.
me, and I really liked their style. And their suits were classic but with a twist. Like they would have a funky little
Wow.
dart, or something, and
A
they
funky dart.
yeah, they were just I loved it, and I was really sad when the Limited closed. But the okay, so let's go back to the anxiety.
Okay.
So that's more of something that you have this blanket anxiety about too many choices. So it wasn't really the
Yes.
mall that did it,
Well, it
right?
could be. It could be because of that bad experience I had with those girls bullying us. It could have been that.
Yeah, that
It could
makes
have been
sense.
stuck in my head that I didn't stand up to them, and it always bothered me in the back of my head. And I think I did try to yell a few things at them and curse a couple of times, but they were so on us,
Mm-hmm.
and it was such a crazy. They followed us out into the parking lot, and I was older than my sister and my friend Erin, who I called Karen in my books, by the way. I was older than them, so I felt very ashamed that I didn't stop these chicks. So it always gave me shame. And then later on in my life, a couple years later, I got into some really heated fights with people, and I tried to go a little further because I hadn't with those girls at the mall.
Okay, so that makes sense because you had a really negative experience, and I was very fortunate. I never had those issues.
No one ever tried to fight you or
No, I
yell
had
at
people make
you,
fun of me, which has been the story my whole life. But I never had anybody threatening
like come after
my
you.
safety. Yeah, it was just
Oh, geez, it
it was more like oh, nice sneakers, or something like that because I just never looked quote unquote right.
yeah, but when they say that, don't you say, "Oh, screw you"? Don't you turn around and say something, or no? Because that's when
No.
the fight starts. Oh, that's why my fight would start because I'd say something.
No, I
I'd
just
be
kind
walking
of
by Orange Julius, and like, "Oh, well, look at you,"
Did you
and then they're like,
actually
"What?"
patronize Orange? I've never in my life had an
No, I
Orange
didn't
Julius.
actually. No, 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 no. And then that actually became Dairy Queen, I think. But anyway, yeah.
Did what like I would see people walking around with these plastic oranges. Was it just orange juice in a plastic orange and that was Orange Julius, or what were they
I
doing in there?
don't know. I think they were like some kind of creamy beverage. It was
Oh.
like a smoothie sort of thing. It was like liquid candy. It was like a creamsicle kind of.
Oh, and then it
I didn't like it. I don't know.
yeah, I just never.
I don't remember why I didn't like it, but it just didn't look good. I never liked Orange Crush
Yeah, I'm
or
not an
any of those,
orange.
so
I love
whatever.
oranges, but I don't like
Hey, did you ever
pretend
do
orange.
those little photo booths with your friends in the
Oh, of
mall? Like
course. Yeah, oh, that's what we
that's
haven't talked about. The
hmm.
arcade.
Oh, the arcade. I was too
Yeah.
afraid because
Yeah.
boys were in there with feathered hair.
Oh, but see, that's why I went in there because I was
Ah.
like, let's go where the boys are. However, I was also a total tomboy and I was
Cute.
playing the video games. And I got hooked on video games because when my parents split up, my dad would take my brother and me for pizza every Wednesday night. It was like one of the
That's so dad.
right,
That's so
yeah, it was
like
like
divorced
visitation
dad.
thing, right? So we would go and have
So
Santora's pizza, and across the street, and a little bit further down from Santora's, there was a freestanding arcade called Great Games.
oh my.
And I don't know what, for lack of other things to do, or maybe it was because we wanted to go. My dad would take us there. He'd hand us a roll of quarters, and we would, play these video games. So I would just sit there, with the little sweaty palm on the, on the joystick, like, and my eyes going back and forth. And I played Tron, Pac-Man. Later on, I played Smash TV. But I loved video games. So in the arcade,
did you like Frogger?
No, I was not a Frogger fan. Mm-hmm. And I was really bad at Galaga or however you say it. Really bad at that game. You know what I was good at? Centipede. I will kick your ass at Centipede.
It was like that ball, that like rolly ball.
Right, the rolly ball. And it was like beep, 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 like that. So I would go into the arcade, and God forbid some cute boy would notice me. Because, of course, what did I do? I would beat his ass at Centipede. And then he would like go off with some girl who knew better and would, let him win. So
and giggle.
Yeah. Like, and I was just all like, oh, I'd kick your ass. So I just didn't know any better. But
that's cute.
The arcade in our Eastern Hills Mall, that used to be a restaurant called Captain's Cove. And it was kind of a big deal when Captain's Cove closed and they put this arcade in there, and the arcade was across from the movie theater. So, I would get dropped off, I would go to the movies, and then I would go into the arcade. It was a full day. It was a full day for little Robbie-Ann.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. So you had a good experience at the mall then. There were definitely, we had kind of like a Hello Kitty store. That was my thing. I wanted to go buy erasers,
Yeah.
But as a teen, I think I just was mostly nervous because I didn't know what my look was and I didn't know which store to go into. So I felt kind of uncomfortable about fashion at the time. Which store is the right one for me? I don't know. And then I would think of like, what stores? Oh, the girls at school are talking about this. Should I go in there? So it was kind of like I was a little nervous about the fashion choices. I was nervous about boys. I was nervous about getting bullied by these mean girls. But then, of course you get a little older and it's fun. I got a little older and it was fun. Let me go to Contempo Casuals and, like I said, buy my skin tight tube dress, so that was fun.
So when you got older, what age was it where the transformation
15.
happened and the mall became fun?
15 and on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And was it a circumstance where suddenly, because the boys were noticing you at that age, and like, would you meet boys in the mall and that kind of thing, and it became
then
like...
I wanted to. Then I was like, hey, like, trying to like get attention.
Hey.
I was basically, yeah. Yeah, then I was all about it. I was good.
Okay. Like, I never got... It was never about boys. I always dreamed I would meet a cute boy. It was like a meet cute thing. I thought, like, especially working at Frontier Fruit and Nut, I was convinced that some guy would walk by, and be like, wow, who's that cute girl offering the kettle corn, But,
well, that's very Fast Times, where you find love in the mall.
Yeah, but that there wasn't even really, like, I never met anybody. I knew my one friend who worked at the Record Town, but I'm thinking that she didn't overlap because I never had anybody stopping by, and there was no gossip, there was no sharing, there was no talking. It was literally, I would show up, clock in, start bagging gummy bears, and then at night...
Cut the ears off.
Yeah, cutting the ears off. One gummy bear. One. Cost me my career.
What was in your Spencer gifts? Like, what was the stuff that you guys would find in there? Because I remember seeing posters. I'd go to the very back and get my Rat poster,
Yes, there was...
There was also Bikini Girls posters.
Yeah, and it was all dark in there. They had the black light and everything glowed.
You felt like you were at a strip club or something. You're like, what's going on here?
It was like a strip club.
Or like a store where there was naughty things or something. And there was, sort of.
They had I would go straight for the posters.
Did you? Okay.
Looking for music posters or whatever.
Right.
And there were always some Star Wars stuff and that kind of thing. I was always checking that out first. And then I would go in the back and just giggle and look at all the, like, cups with like F words on it, or, you know, the
Right.
naughty games. And there were a lot of naughty games for couples, or I don't know. There's a lot of
Yes.
that stuff. And there also were, I remember a lot of like weird rubber masks year round, you know?
Like creepy
Yeah,
masks that
like
you
the
have on like
Michael
rob a
Myers
bank with.
mask. They always had Michael Myers masks. Yeah, stuff like that. And it was like year round. It was just a
So
kooky store.
creepy.
I think there
Did you
still
guys
are
have?
Spencer's, aren't there?
Yes, I forget. Now I think they're Hot Topic now.
Spencer's became. No, wait. We gotta
Or
look
they're,
that.
or else it's just like it. Hey, did you guys have a Hickory Farms?
Oh, Hickory Farms was my competition. They were in the
Right?
other end. I was in the one wing. They were in the other wing, and I would see people walk by me because they were in the wing where the movie theater and Friendly's was, and I
Oh,
was
good.
in the outpost wing. You know, where it was like on your
Yes.
way to Sears. So people would walk by me, and I would see them with their Hickory Farms bag, and they would,
No.
I'd be like, hey, you want, some kettle corn? And they would hold up their Hickory Farms bag like,
How
nope.
dare they?
I know. It was so rude. So rude. But I couldn't compete. They had sausages,
Okay, they
you
did.
know,
And they had those little like strawberry candies with no writing on them where you're like, where did
which
these
were
come from?
awful. Okay. But they had like pepperonis. Now, the pepperonis and the
Pep-
cheese things, those were really good. But we had the super sized peanut butter cups, the
Ooh, those are
double
good.
dipped chocolate peanuts that put 8 pounds on me. We had the fantastic gummy bear display. You know, we had we had gummy worms. We had everything
What
gummy fish.
what shoe stores did you have? Because I remember a Tom McCann.
Oh yeah, Tom McCann for
Pennies.
sure. And then there was a
Yeah, there was
Stride Right. We had a
a
Stride Right and a Tom McCann. Yeah.
Those were they sold hush puppies there, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I loved Hush Puppies.
But I
Those
loved the
suede
wild
loafers.
pear. After my Contempo casuals, I'd go to the wild pear and get some like snake skin purple 4-inch heels for the 10th grade math class. You
Yes,
know?
I never went in the wild pear because I was I was such a bumbler. I did not put heels on my feet until college. Like I just couldn't do it.
So did you wear any designer jeans? Which I
No,
wish I could.
I always
Definitely
wanted them.
Jordache.
No, I
Uh-huh.
wanted them, but I did not like. I got the Bastard clogs a year late. I
Okay.
got the
Oh, you were a little late.
Jordache. They weren't Jordache. They were Sergio Valente.
I really wanted Sergio Valente.
I got
Isn't
those
that the
late.
one that had the little bull, like the little bull horns? It was like
Yes.
S with the bull, and then there was a V,
Yeah, there's like a
and then
V
Jordache
on
was
the
the horse, right?
right. Yeah, Jordache had the little horse.
Yeah,
Those were
Sassoon
the
was the little like
jeans.
hand with a little OK sign, the little Sassoon.
Yeah, the Jordache jeans in my junior high and high school,
I really want
that was it.
those.
Those
Yeah,
were the jeans.
super high waisted,
If you didn't have
dark.
those,
Yeah,
then you
I
were
got
a
those
step
way.
below. It was like a
Yeah,
caste system, and at the top the top level was
yeah,
the chicks in Jordache jeans. If you had any type of off-brand,
like mine,
you
graffiti jeans from Jimco. Go on.
I don't even think I don't even think there were names on the jeans I wore. If you like the Jordache, that was
Right.
like your pass into. I
Yes.
was convinced that
Uh-huh.
because I had off-brand jeans. Actually,
Yes.
you know where most of mine came from was J.C. Penney. That's
Yeah.
where I got most of mine.
Right.
So I wasn't wearing Wranglers, but I was wearing and I remember specifically I had this maroon pair of corduroys that I got from J.C. Penney,
I feel like that's cool.
and I got a hole in them, and I
Ooh.
sewed this iron-on patch. It was like a little bear or something on it. Now in 7th grade, no.
Wait, was Sassoon? Was it Sasson or Sassoon? Because it was Sasson. I'm
Oh,
thinking of Vidal Sassoon. I don't know. I could have that wrong, guys.
I don't know. I wasn't.
And I don't
Sass-ong?
remember Calvin Klein at my school.
No, that was yeah. We didn't.
Was it older people?
I didn't really see kids with Calvin Klein
I didn't
jeans
either. I
until
saw
like
kids
college.
with Jordache, and there was like 5 different pockets. There was different. There was kind of a. There was one pockets that were just stripes across the pocket. There was a pocket that had kind of a upside down arrow. There was a pocket that had kind of a butterfly shape. So there was different pockets and also pocket shapes on those Jordache jeans. So I think those were the ones, and they were just a big deal. And
Yeah.
if you look at them now, they're rather ugly, but yeah, they're kind of high-waisted, and you wore like a little belt.
They were so expensive. That's why
Why?
I
Yeah,
never had them. They were
yeah,
just,
same.
they were out of my
Yep.
price range. But
Oh yeah.
back to the actual infrastructure of the mall itself,
Yes.
I
Yes.
need to mention the
Tell
smell
me.
in the mall because
Ooh.
they pumped, air freshener or some kind of scent or whatever. And to this day, if I walk into a good mall that has
Mm.
a good scent, a good kind of
What did mine smell
chemical
like? Mine
whatever.
smells like cinnamon or Cinnabon or something to this day.
Yeah, well, there was the food smells, which I loved how they all mixed too. Like you'd walk by the original cookie company and you would smell this, and then Roy Rogers, you would smell this funky smell, and. But I'm talking about the actual air filter, like the
Oh, I
filtered.
don't
So when you first
know.
open the doors and you just smell
Oh, yes, you smell kind of a
this,
Disneylandish
yeah,
smell.
exactly. It's like you're in the mall. The air is clean. There's everything's folded, and
Oh, that
people
was
are there
kind
to
of a
serve you.
nice feeling,
Yeah.
yes. What was that store structure? Was that a guy store? I think it was a
Structure. Oh gosh, you know what? I
I think it
totally
was a
forgot about
guy's
structure.
store.
I
Structure.
forgot about structure completely.
And then I remember there was like I think there was a Camelot music at some point somewhere.
Yeah, I don't
But
think
yeah,
we didn't have the Camelot.
and then Radio Shack is where like you would get your Walkman, you know?
Yesterday's technology at tomorrow's prices. Radio
I never heard
Shack.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, those stores. I guess I could see how it would be fun, but yeah, it was just too much for me, I think. I don't know, guys.
Well, I still love a good trip to the mall. I mean, of course things have changed. Now it's like Starbucks and the most of the mall, like my old mall, my Eastern Hills Mall,
Uh-huh.
it's there are a lot of vacant spaces, and they're probably going to completely raise it and redevelop it in the next few
Oh,
years.
wow.
And let me tell you, I will shed a tear. Now, I believe
Aw.
it's probably time. I mean, things
Okay.
change, and redevelopment's not a bad thing. But
Sure.
I definitely will feel sad. And I actually, the movie theater is the same. Like the little theaters, everything's the same in there. They're the same seats, and the
That's so
screen,
cute.
it's kind of like a white wall, like, and I love it. I love it. They still show. It's more like independent films now, but I went in there once to watch a movie not too long ago, and I actually took a million pictures because the snack
That's
bar's
so
the same,
cute.
and actually I think they redid it maybe in the 80s, but it's been the same for decades. So I thought, oh my God, I want to save this until, but so I'm real attached to that theater.
Oh, that
It
is so
was, it was
sweet.
my Legend of the Lone Ranger theater. I saw Star Wars there. I saw Xanadu there.
Oh, your
Oh
favorite.
God, yeah, yeah. So that I think that's gonna mean
My
a lot to
store
me.
that is still around where I got my erasers, I got it was usually at Hallmark, believe it or not,
Oh, the Hallmark
which was like a
store. Yeah,
stationery store. They still have them,
they
but
sold the
there would
little
always be a
Snoopy plastic pencil
Snoopy.
sets. Oh, I love
Exactly. There would
those.
be one little kiosk of little Snoopy school supplies, and then that became slowly, 1980 or something, 79, Hello Kitty. One or two
Oh,
erasers, then one little My Melody pencil sharpener popped up, then a couple little Twin Stars, so the mall meant some Sanrio for me, so that I was all about it. That was
ah,
probably my favorite thing. The Hallmark store.
yeah, in the
And
Hallmark
you get
store.
stickers there too, my scratch and sniff stickers.
Yes, the cute little stickers and the
Hmm.
ornaments. They'd always have like these
Yeah, they
limited.
still have
They
those.
still have some of those. Yeah. So guess what? Once again, Aim, we
Tell
are
me.
out of time.
Well, before we go, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Can we ask the Magic 8 Ball?
Oh, yes.
I want to ask the Magic 8 Ball something that
Okay.
has that so what is Magic 8 Ball? Is it like a yes or no
Yep.
thing?
It's all yes or no questions. Yeah, and
Okay.
people, we've had this. Just so you know, we've had this Magic 8 Ball sitting here on my desk every single podcast, and we always forget to ask the Magic 8 Ball. So, Amy, Kudos to you for remembering. So what
You
is
know?
it that you want to ask the Magic 8 Ball? I'm holding it right now.
I want to ask the Magic 8 Ball if malls will ever make a comeback.
Magic 8, should we? Oh, Magic 8 Ball.
Is it light as a feather, stiff as a board sort of thing? What is it?
Light as a feather.
Is it the spirit?
Okay. Will malls ever make a comeback? Almighty
Maybe like
Magic
a virtual
8 Ball.
mall or like a virtual reality mall or some mall we've never heard of.
Oh, it says concentrate and ask again.
Okay.
So I'm concentrating now. I'm shaking the Magic 8 Ball.
All right.
Will malls ever make a comeback?
Will malls ever make a comeback?
Cannot predict now.
Oh,
That's
my.
interesting, isn't it?
Maybe there'll be some weird like virtual reality mall that we end up going to one day.
Wow, the Magic 8 Ball has spoken, people. Interesting. Wow, I got like shivers now. Like I'm like, yeah. But anyway, so thank you for bringing that up, Abe. Yay, we asked the Magic 8 Ball. So thanks for listening to us, you guys. This was super fun for me. How about you, Abe?
I loved it. I loved it.
The mall.
Yes.
Like I want to go to the mall right now. Like
I don't, but I still love you.
I want to get my Starbucks latte and go wander around the mall. Yeah. So remember, guys, we're on Twitter, Glitter Bee Girls, and Instagram, Glitter Bee Girls, and we got a website, glitterboomgirls.com. And hit us up. Let us know what we love to hear from you guys. So thank you so much. I'm Robbie-Ann McPherson.
And I am Amy Asbury. It has been a pleasure.